Welcome to EngloStories. Today, we're exploring The Necklace, a timeless short story written by the famous French author Guy de Maupassant in 1884. This captivating tale takes us to 19th century Paris and follows a young woman named Mathilde Loisel, whose desire for luxury and status leads to unexpected consequences. The story examines themes of pride, appearance versus reality, and how our choices can dramatically change our lives. Join us as we unravel this classic tale that has fascinated readers for over a century with its surprising twist and powerful life lessons. Now let's begin the story. In the late 19th century, in a modest neighborhood of Paris, lived a young couple named Mathilde and Charles Loisel. Their apartment was small and plain, with simple furniture and unremarkable decorations. Charles worked as a clerk in the Ministry of Education, earning enough to provide a comfortable but humble lifestyle. Mathilde, however, was not content with their situation. She was extraordinarily beautiful, with delicate features and graceful movements that seemed out of place in their modest home. Unlike her husband, who accepted their middle-class status, Mathilde dreamed of luxury. She imagined elegant dinners with fine silverware, beautiful furniture, and distinguished guests. When she visited her wealthy friend, Madame Forestier, Mathilde would return home feeling bitter and resentful of her own simple life. She believed she deserved better things: silk dresses, jewels, and the admiration of important people. Every day, she grew more frustrated with the gap between her dreams and her reality. One evening, Charles returned home with excitement shining in his eyes. In his hand was an elegant envelope addressed to them both. "Look, Mathilde," he exclaimed, presenting it to his wife. It was an invitation to a grand ball at the Ministry of Education, an exclusive event where important government officials and their wives would gather. Charles was thrilled at this rare opportunity to socialize with his superiors. However, Mathilde's reaction surprised him. Instead of showing joy, her face crumpled with distress. "What do you expect me to wear to such an event?" she cried. "I have no proper dress, no jewels. I would look like a servant among those wealthy women." Charles, not understanding the depth of her distress, suggested she wear the theater dress she owned, but Mathilde refused, tears streaming down her face. Seeing his wife's unhappiness, Charles asked how much a suitable dress would cost. When Mathilde mentioned 400 francs, he agreed to provide the money, though it was exactly the amount he had saved to buy a hunting rifle. With the money secured, Mathilde purchased a beautiful gown, but soon another problem emerged. She had no jewelry to complement her elegant attire. "I will look poor regardless of my dress if I have no jewels," she lamented. Charles suggested she visit her wealthy friend, Madame Forestier, to borrow some jewelry. The next day, Mathilde went to her friend's luxurious apartment. Madame Forestier willingly opened her jewel box, offering Mathilde her choice of accessories. Among the sparkling collection, one piece caught Mathilde's eye, a magnificent diamond necklace that gleamed with brilliance. When she held it against her neck, Mathilde's heart raced with excitement. "Could I borrow this?" she asked timidly. Madame Forestier happily agreed. With the necklace secured in her hands, Mathilde left feeling as though her dreams were coming true. For once, she would appear as the elegant, wealthy woman she believed herself to be. The night of the ball approached, and Matilda's anticipation grew with each passing hour. She imagined the admiring glances and respectful conversations that awaited her. The night of the ball finally arrived. Matilda dressed carefully in her new gown and fastened the borrowed diamond necklace around her slender neck. When she looked in the mirror, she barely recognized herself. The elegant woman staring back at her matched the vision she had always had of herself. Beautiful, sophisticated, and worthy of admiration. At the ministry ball, Matilda was transformed. She danced with enthusiasm, laughed with genuine joy, and received countless compliments from important men. Women examined her with envy, and for one magical night, she experienced the life she had always dreamed of. Charles watched from a corner, falling asleep in a small room with other husbands, but Matilda didn't notice. She was too busy enjoying her moment of triumph, drinking in the attention like a parched flower, finally receiving rain. The evening passed in a blur of dancing, champagne, and conversation. Matilda felt intoxicated by her success. She didn't want the night to end, dancing until 4 in the morning. When Charles finally wrapped his wife's shoulders with her modest coat, hiding her elegant dress, she panicked at the thought of other guests seeing her ordinary outerwear. She rushed Charles outside to find a cab, avoiding the other departing guests. When they arrived home, exhausted but happy, Matilda stood before the mirror one last time, wanting to see herself in all her glory before returning to reality. Suddenly, her face went pale with horror. The diamond necklace was no longer around her neck. She frantically touched her throat, checked her coat, and searched her dress, but the precious jewelry was nowhere to be found. "The necklace!" she gasped, turning to Charles with wide, terrified eyes. "Madame Forestier's diamond necklace is gone." The discovery that the necklace was missing plunged the couple into a state of panic. They retraced their steps, searching desperately through the cab, along the streets, and at the ministry building. Charles went to the police station and placed advertisements in newspapers offering rewards for the necklace's return. They waited anxiously for days, hoping someone would find and return the precious item, but no one came forward. After a week of fruitless searching, they faced the terrible truth. The necklace was truly lost. "We must replace it," Charles said grimly. They visited jeweler after jeweler, showing them pictures of similar necklaces, trying to find an exact match. Finally, they discovered a diamond necklace that looked identical to Madame Forestier's. The price was devastating, 40,000 francs, an astronomical sum for a clerk like Charles. They had no choice but to buy it. Charles used his entire inheritance of 18,000 francs and borrowed the rest from various lenders, signing promissory notes that would take years to repay. Once they had the replacement necklace, Mathilde returned it to Madame Forestier, who took it without opening the case, seemingly unaware of the substitution. "You should have returned it sooner," Madame Forestier remarked casually. "I might have needed it." With the necklace returned, the Loisels began a new life of extreme poverty. They moved to a shabby attic apartment, dismissed their servant, and Mathilde took on heavy household chores herself. Charles worked evenings after his regular job, copying documents for extra money. This harsh new reality would be their existence for the next decade as they worked to repay their enormous debt. 10 years passed. Matilda was now unrecognizable from the beautiful woman she had once been. Her hands were rough and red from washing dishes and clothes. Her hair was poorly cut and rarely styled. Her once elegant figure had become coarse from heavy housework. She wore simple, cheap clothes and shopped aggressively for bargains, haggling over every centime. The physical toll of poverty had transformed her completely. One Sunday, while taking a rare break for a walk along the Champs-Élysées, Mathilde spotted a familiar figure, Madame Forestier, still young, beautiful, and wealthy. After a moment's hesitation, Mathilde decided to approach her. Madame Forestier didn't recognize her old friend at first, so dramatic was Mathilde's transformation. "Jeanne," Mathilde called out. "It's me, Mathilde Loisel." Shocked by her friend's changed appearance, Madame Forestier exclaimed, "My poor Mathilde! What has happened to you?" Taking a deep breath, Mathilde proceeded to tell her the whole story, losing the necklace, replacing it with an expensive duplicate, and the decade of crushing poverty they had endured to pay for it. As she finished her tale, Madame Forestier grasped Mathilde's hands with a stunned expression. "Oh, my poor Mathilde," she said softly. "The necklace I lent you was fake. It was worth at most 500 francs. The necklace teaches us several important life lessons that remain relevant today. First, it reminds us that appearances can be deceiving. What looks valuable might not be, and our assumptions can lead us astray. Second, the story shows how pride and the desire to appear wealthy can have devastating consequences. Mathilde's unwillingness to accept her social position and her obsession with status led to years of unnecessary hardship. Perhaps most importantly, the story encouraged us to appreciate what we have rather than focusing on what we lack. Before the ball, Mathilde had a comfortable home, a loving husband, and enough to meet her needs. Yet she was unhappy because she wanted more. Sometimes, as Mathilde learned too late, the things we already possess are worth more than the luxuries we desire. If you enjoyed The Necklace and the important lessons it teaches, please hit the like button and share this video with friends who are also learning English. What would you have done if you were Mathilde? Let us know in the comments below. Follow EngloStories as we upload a story daily so that you can look forward to our next video. Remember, learning English can be both fun and meaningful when we explore classic stories together. See you tomorrow for another engaging tale.